कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. So Hare Krishna, dear devotees, let's start with one round of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram 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 Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Krishna Hare Hare, Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupada Paramhamsa Parivrajakaacharya Ashtodra Nityaveen Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ganga Maiya ki jai, Yamuna Maiya ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Tulsi Maharani ki jai, Samveta Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Kali Yuga Patita Pavana Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Samveta Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan की जय, मथुरा धाम की जय, वृंदावन धाम की जय, मायापुर नदीप धाम की जय, पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय. Ananta Koji Gaur Bhaktavind ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glory to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glory to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapalakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saganalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradhayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaura Dushe Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Shri Radha Kanta Namosude Jayadam Suradho Bangor Mama Mandamate Giri Matsarvasya Padam Bojau Shri Radha Madanamoham Divya Vrindaranya Kalpadrumadaha Srimad Ratnagara Simha Sanastav Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Preshtalimi Sevyamano Swarami Shriman Rasarasaram Bhirvam Shivatattarastitah Darshan Venur Swanet Gopir Shri Gopinatha Shri Estunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Mancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tarale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Netkrapatamam Mande Shri Gurum Dinadarinam Ramananda Madhavam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tatsat. Hare Krishna. So thank you all for joining in. Now let's jump into our book, which we will complete today in all probability. So we will complete this book and we'll start the next book in the next class, which will be tomorrow. Okay. So we've been reading in this book, Krishna, the Reservoir of Pleasure. So where can we get eternal pleasure? Otherwise, all the other kinds of so-called pleasures that we perceive as pleasure, which is absence of suffering, it stays for some time. We saw that story. Everything, this also passes, right? This will also pass. This will also pass. If you are happy, then we should know that this will also pass. This time will also pass. If you are sad, then we should know that this time will also pass. Nothing is permanent in this material world. Change is the only constant in this material world. So knowing that, dhirastatrana muyati, one should not grieve for this changing scenarios, right? Just like sufferings come without being asked for, similarly happiness will also come without being asked for, according to what we deserve, as per our guna and karma, as per our karmic account. So there is no need to pray to the Lord for happiness in this material world. If at all we need to pray, we need to pray for only one thing, right? Which we do every morning during the Brahma Muhurta time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. O Supreme Lord Krishna, O energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Srimati Radharani, please engage me in your service. That needs to be our only prayer. All other things will be taken care of by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Very beautiful here. We ended our last session by saying, Prabhupada is saying, as we become advanced in the spiritual concept of life, we can understand what the actual position in the spiritual transcendental world is. What is our position? Be it in the material world or in the spiritual world. It is Jivera Swarupahe Krishnera Nityadas. If I'm engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whether I am in this material world, whether I am in the spiritual world, does not matter. That is the mode of the great acharyas. Right? At our level, we can say that I want to get rid of or get out of the cycle of birth, death, disease, and old age. Mukti hitvanya yada rupam swarupena vyavastiti. I want to engage in the service of the Lord. Right? Why? Because I want to get out of this janma, mrityu, jara and vyadi, because it's giving me so much pain. Right? But what is a great acharyas at sadhaka level? Yeah, this is a good understanding. To motivate ourselves to chant Hare Krishna, right? At least when we get out of this material world, we'll go back to spiritual abode. We'll go back to Goloka Vrindavan Dham, to be in the association of Krishna, to always serve Krishna. Very nice consciousness to meditate upon as we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. This Hare Krishna Mahamantra is going to deliver me back home, back to Godhead, right? But as we evolve, right? Ashlishava Padratam Pinashtumam Adarshanan Barmahatam Karotuva Yada Dadava Vidadatulam Pato Mat Prananatas to Saivanapara. This is the consciousness of the greatest devotee. Who is that? Srimati Radharani, who has come in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? Krishna himself has come in the mode of Srimati Radharani and the Sri Krishna Chaitanya Sharira Dhari, right? Kripa Mudir, right? He's an ocean of mercy. And what is he praying? He's praying that, oh Krishna, whether you embrace me or you leave me and go, I will always serve you unconditionally. I will always serve you uninterruptedly. I will always serve you only for your pleasure. In that consciousness, even situated within the material world, within these clutches of the material world, one feels liberated. That we find so many acharyas, right, who seem to be, right, physically, in a very painful condition. It seems like they're undergoing so much of pain. That's what it seemed to our eyes. But how are they liberated even in that platform? How are they able to preach in that platform? Right? His Holiness Radha Govind Swami Maharaj, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, like all of these wonderful acharyas, right? They are all, how are they able to preach Krishna consciousness day in and day out, irrespective of being bound to a wheelchair or having so much of bodily inconvenience, right? Because they are serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whether it is in the material world or in the spiritual world does not matter, right? The externals, all these externals don't matter. When we realize that I want to simply serve Krishna for his pleasure, that is the goal of life. All right. So let's quickly go on to our reading. Whoever wants to read. Okay. I already see many hands up. All right. Leela Nandini Mataji, go ahead. Here the Lord instructs us in Buddhi Yoga.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranam.
Yes, the Lord instructs us in Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi Yoga means that we have full consciousness that we are not this body. And if I act with this understanding, then I am not body. I am consciousness. That is a fact. Now, if we act on the level of consciousness, then we can overcome the fruity result of good work or bad work. It is a transcendental stage. It means that we are acting on another's account, on the Supreme's account. We are not liable to lose or gain. When there is gain, we should not be puffed up. We should think this gain is for the Lord. And when there is loss, we should know that this is not our responsibility. It is God's work, His. Then we will be happy. This we have to practice. Everything on account of the Supreme. This transcendental nature we have to develop. This is a trick of doing work under this present circumstances. As soon as we work on the level of bodily consciousness, we become bound by the reaction of our work. But when we work through spiritual consciousness, we are not bound either by pious activities or by vicious activities. That is the technique. Manishina.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Bol.
Mataji, Hari Bol.
Hare Bol. Yeah. So Prabhupada, in one of his lectures, is giving an example of a cashier in the bank, right? When the cashier is actually counting the cash, right, he is not bothered how much cash is there. It may be millions that he counts in a day. Some days it may be just hundreds or thousands of rupees he may count in a day. It does not matter to him because he's not counting any of his money, right? He is doing his job, right, for the authority for whom he is working. He has no claim or even a penny of what he is counting. So sometimes, there are robbers, right? The thief comes and steals the money from the bank and goes, right? He's not affected by it. Why? Because he was doing his duty. He was just counting the cash. Now the cash is stolen. Fine. So what can I do about it, right? I did my best. I did my duty. I counted and kept it in the vault. I did my best, but due to some reason, the money is gone, right? So he's neither affected because he's got millions of rupees he's counting, nor is he affected because the entire bank is looted and there's not a penny in the bank. He's neither affected by the positive thing or the negative thing, right? What is the positive? Just because a lot of money is there and he's counting them, right? Lot of money. Does it give him happiness? No, because it's not his. Right? When the entire money is also gone, he's not feeling sad because nothing was his. So what is the need to feel sad? Right? Only if you possess something, only if you think I am the controller of something, I possess this, I own this, then somebody steals this, then I feel very sad. I feel that, oh, somebody has taken away my property, isn't it? There was one beautiful example given. Somebody was having a nice meal in the restaurant. Okay, so there was a very nice LED TV. The cricket match was going on. Everybody was glued to the TV. They ordered some nice, the hotel restaurant. They ordered some nice things, having a wonderful meal, chit chatting, and all that. Now suddenly robbers came and they stole the TV and other things and went away. Right? And what do these people do who are eating? Right? They just finish their meal and then they go home. Right? They pay for it and they go home. Right? So this is a LED TV. Right? Maybe it's a 42-inch TV. Right? But nobody is feeling any sadness or distress because the TV is lost. Right? Except the owner of the shop, right? The owner of the restaurant. Now he might be feeling, oh my God, I've lost my big LED TV, etc. Right? But when the same person who's like neutral, it's okay, aapka karma aisa tha, chala gaya TV. Karke wo ghar jata hai. Then he finds a small 21-inch TV, very old TV, Sony TV. That is actually stolen, right? How much he gets worked up. Oh my God, my television, I just gone to a restaurant to have my dinner. When I came back, I saw my television is missing. Somebody has stolen. Immediately runs to the police station to lodge a complaint. This, that, why? Yeah, this is an old TV, which does not even work properly. But that was a very latest model of an LED TV. But why this difference? The difference is because this man was identifying himself with a small TV, right? Even a pauper is proud of his penny, right? I think Gauram Prabhu or somebody was giving this example, how in the highway, they have some specific areas for certain beggars to sit and beg, right? If somebody comes and sits there, this beggar says, hey, this is my place to beg. You go and sit somewhere else. In that level also, there is a controlling mentality, right? Even a pauper is proud of his penny. Right? This man is so attached to his old TV. That is why, even though it is very old, even though it is worthless, now he is going to the police station and going so much of suffering and misery because he is attached to it. Whereas the wonderful LED TV which got lost in the hotel or the restaurant, this man is not affected. Why? Because he did not consider it as his. Right? So that is the attitude we need to adopt. Right? We are all in rent. This material world is like we've come on rent. Why? Because we've been thrown out of our original home. We've been thrown out because we have acted mischievously. We become very naughty, and then our father has told you, get out, go to the prison house, reform yourself, and then come back to me, right? And our father is eagerly waiting for us. But what are we doing? We are simply crying over all these old model televisions and phones and mobiles. If the mobile is lost, it is like I've lost one kidney, right? Become so affected by it, I can't do my chanting. Why? Because my mobile is lost. That is why in a rented house, we are claiming everything as our property, and if anything gets lost, we are feeling so much misery. So this misery is self-created. Because we are identifying ourselves with a material object, and that material object is bound to be taken away. Right? Any material object is bound to deteriorate. Any person in this material world is also bound to die. Right? When we attach ourselves to such material things, then we are bound to suffering. It is a choice that we are making. It's not that we should not have any emotional relationships with our relatives, right? But it should be grounded on the solid foundation that Mame Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Right? I should be very clear that my eternal relationship is only with Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And all of my family members, we are all working together, keeping Krishna as the Kendra Bindru, right? He's a Krishna as a center. In this way, when we work, then we are working on the right platform, right? Even though something, some distress situation may happen, of course, we will feel separation from our relatives, from our friends, from our devotees. We will feel separation, but we know that since that person has practiced devotional service, he's gone to a better destination, right? I am feeling separation from him, but I would meet him, right? His Holiness recently, His Holiness Kadambakanand Swami Maharaj, who left his body, was saying in his last video that was released, he was saying, meet you on the other side of the world, right? He was saying, right, I'm going now, that everybody has to go back home, back to Godhead. So we'll meet you on the other side, like that. So there is nothing to lament. There is nothing to rejoice. There is nothing to lament. So that is what we need to understand. So when we work through spiritual consciousness, we are not bound either by pious activities or by vicious activities. That is the technique. What is the technique? This we have to practice everything on account of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is why devotional service, we follow the instructions of the Guru. Right? We do our best. So whatever results may come, right? We go for book distribution. One day we are able to distribute 10, 15 books. We are so happy. Another day, not even a single book goes. Right? Krishna puts us in our place. Sometimes we get very proud. I distributed 20 books of Krishna books today. And the next day, nothing goes unless we surrender. Oh, Krishna, please help me. Right? I want to serve my spiritual master. I want to please my spiritual master. And then the books start going like that. So I'm not doing anything on my account. Why am I distributing books? Because my spiritual master has told me. Why am I doing it? To please my spiritual master. And by his mercy, everything is happening. We are just instruments. We are just generals in the army of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada is a Senapati Bhakta, isn't it? There is a prediction in Chaitanya Charitamrita. There is a prediction that there will be a Senapati Bhakta who will appear, who will take the message of Krishna consciousness in all the worlds, right? Who will take it beyond the oceans. Right? Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preached only in Bengal, preached only in South India, right? And some pockets of India. And nobody went abroad. Why? Nobody went, to the Western world to preach. Why? It was left for the Senapati Bhakta, Srila Prabhupada, to do that, right? Because Krishna always wants to give glory to his devotee, right? So when we do everything, and what is from Prabhupada's perspective, what did he say? Now, oh Krishna, you brought me here in this Boston skyline. There's so much of passion. There is so much of ignorance. Why have you brought me here? Now make me dance as you like. I'm a puppet in your hands. Make me dance as you like. So this is the conscience of Prabhupada. Because Prabhupada is not claiming credit for whatever he is doing. Prabhupada is doing it on account of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, on account of the instructions he received from his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So when this is our attitude in doing devotional service, in performing our Swadharma also, right? When we are performing our Swadharma also, we perform our duty, but we are not attached to the results. Karmanyevadi karaste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbur mati sangostu karmani. Right? We do our duty to the best of our ability. It is not that, nothing relies in my hands. Let me become lazy and lie down and sleep. No, we have to do our duty, because Krishna also told Arjuna the same thing. Krishna didn't tell, okay, I will fight the war. You are my devotee. I will fight the war and you will become the king. No. Krishna told, Manusmara Yuddhyacha, you have to fight the war, right? They say, right? Every person has to fly his own plane back home, back to Godhead. Nobody can fly the plane for another. Although we may love to do it for our near and dear ones, but that is the law of the world, right? Everyone has to fight their own battles. Everyone has to face their karma. Everyone has to fly their own plane back home, back to Godhead. So when we realize this and we perform everything on account of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, when we perform a karma, then we will not get into the womb of another mother. We will get free from this Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi. We will go back home, back to Godhead. Yad Gatva Nanivartante Tad Dhama Paramam Mama. That is where we want to go, to do eternal service to Shri Radha and Krishna. Okay. So who else wants to read? Leela Nandini Mataji. Yeah. Jyotsna Mataji, go ahead. Manishinaha.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Dandavats.
In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that one who is Buddhi Yukta is Manishina. This word is very significant. Manishi means thoughtful.
Oh, okay,
Hello?
okay. So I think the book is slightly different.
Actually, I'm reading from the book.
Sure, go ahead.
Unless one is thoughtful, he cannot understand that he is not this body. But if one is a little thoughtful, he can understand, oh, I am not this body. I am consciousness. Sometimes in our leisure time, we can see, oh, this is my finger and this is my hand. This is my ear and this is my nose. Everything is mine. But what am I? What am I? I'm feeling this is mine and that I am. Simply a little thought is required. Everything is mine. My eyes, my finger, my hand, my. And what is the I? The I is the consciousness which is thinking, this is mine. Now, if I am not this body, then why should I act for this body? I should act for myself. Then how can I work for myself? What is my position? I am consciousness. But what kind of consciousness? Subordinate consciousness. I am part of the supreme consciousness. Then what will my activities be? My activities will be under the guidance of the supreme consciousness. Just as in the office, the managing director is the supreme consciousness. For example, in the office, everyone is Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Bol. Thank you, Mataji. I just want to add something here. See, if I'm not this body, right? Prabhupada actually was demonstrating, I think, with Saraswati, or some small girl. What is this? This is my pen. This is my comb. This is my mobile. This is my kartal. This is my water bottle. And then what does my refer to? Then everybody was astonished. What is this my? Right? What is this my? Who am I? I am the spirit soul. Then I have this body. Who is the I? I am the spirit soul. Jivara Swarupohe Krishnera Nitya Das. Right? Anandamayo Abhyasa. Right? The body is subject to various kinds of pain, back pain, head pain. Right? So many pains. The soul is always Ananda. It is only because the soul is covered by this, this body, like we read in the previous chapter and the previous book, how the soul is like the shirt, and the body is like the overcoat on top of the shirt, right? So this is what covers our consciousness. Otherwise, there is no pain that is experienced at all by the soul, right? That is I don't experience any pain. That is why Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramati balavadrikam. Krishna does not, Arjuna does not say, I am confused, right? Chanchalam hi mana Krishna. My mind is wandering here, there, and everywhere. So when we identify with my mind, my intelligence, my body, then we can stay apart from our mind and we can take logical decisions. Right? When we contemplate on something also, I want the Jayate Vishan Pumsan, Sangasteshu Vijayate, Sangat Sanjayate, Kama Krodod Vijayate, right? Initially, it starts off with a desire. I want to have this, right? Until then, it is quite good, right? We are still under control, right? But when we identify with that eating, right, or with having that particular pizza or whatever it may be, I am going to have it, right? If I don't have it, then I am going to feel sad, right? I am not going to feel sad. It is a mind that is tricking me to think that, the entire life will be lost without that pizza. Right? So who am I? Right? When I stay away from my mind, my body, then I can use my intelligence. Right? The intelligence is there. The intelligence is to guide the mind. The mind is to guide the senses, and that's how the senses get work. Right? The horse example is given. Right? Where you have the 5 horses, which are the 5 senses, and then you have the reins, which is the mind, and then you have the driver, who is the intelligence, and the soul is the passenger, is behind. Right? The soul or the passenger, he directs the intelligence where to go, which direction to go. And accordingly, the driver will tell the mind, right? The mind, mind, do this, do Hare Krishna chanting for 2 hours. Don't think of anything else. Then the mind will tell my hand, will tell the various parts of my body to sit down in Padmasana or sit down in Sukhasana. Take the chanting bag, hold it with the middle finger and thumb. Put your forefinger out and then use your mouth to chant. Use your jiva, right? You say, jiva. Right? I want the Lord to reveal himself to me. So, my tongue, chant Hare Krishna. That's how the intelligence has to direct the mind has to direct the senses, and then the senses has to engage in devotional service. Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. Right? Like this beautiful alignment has been generated by the Lord. It is only that I identify with the mind. So I think this having pizza is only making me happy. That will make my soul happy. That will make me happy, right? Which is my soul. It's not nothing as my soul. I am the soul, isn't it? I am the spirit soul. So that will make me happy. That is my misconception. That misconception is causing me suffering. When I come to my correct consciousness, what is the correct consciousness? I am the spirit soul. I am going to direct intelligence to do what is good for me in the long run, right? There was this marshmallow experiment that was done, wherein children were given marshmallows. All the children were given one marshmallow. And then they were told, if you don't eat it for half an hour, after that you will get one more marshmallow. And some of the children could not contain themselves. Immediately they had one, right? They could not get the second one, right? However, some of the children, right, they wanted to eat so much. And then some of them made an idea. Some of them just got up from the place, started walking started jumping, started playing, right? Some of them just put on their head and went to sleep, whatever it may be, right? According to that. But they did not have the marshmallow for half an hour. And then what happened? Because they restricted their senses for half an hour, they got a second marshmallow, right? So in expectancy of a higher pleasure of getting 2 marshmallows, these children could control their senses, not have that marshmallow. And this study actually proved that those children who could control their mind, who could control their senses, and did not have the marshmallow, they actually became CEOs. They actually became leaders of organizations, right? Similarly, param drishtva nivartate. I know that I'm going to get eternal pleasure in the spiritual world. And for going there, I have to do all these austerities, right? All these, sacrifice of all these unwanted things, right? Anukulyasya sankalpa, pratikulyasya varjanam, right? Whatever is favorable for devotional service, I will do it because it is going to give me long-term benefit. It's going to take me back home, back to Godhead. Pratikulyasya varjanam, right? I don't want to do things which are going to, affect my consciousness or which are going to bring down my level of consciousness and degrade my consciousness. Watching TV is going to degrade my consciousness. Watching a cricket match is going to degrade my consciousness. Indulging in prajalpa is going to degrade my consciousness. How can I better equip myself to spend my time in a way that will elevate my consciousness rather than degrade my consciousness? That is what is mentioned here. Subordinate consciousness, I am part of the supreme consciousness. So I have to realize the supreme Lord, who is the Lord, right? I have to train my consciousness to be always conscious of Krishna and never conscious of Maya. And always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna, right? So that is how. And how do we always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna, right? Prabhupada mentions, Prabhupada, he never translates bhakti into devotion, right? We were discussed in one of the previous classes, right? Devotion is never on a mental platform. Oh, I love you, mother says, but does not cook anything for the child. Is that love? No. So what is love? Love means service, right? As well as Radhanath Maharaj's very famous quote that is there, very nice poster is there in Google. It says, to love means to serve. To serve means to please, right? If we love somebody, you have to serve that person in such a way that such a person is pleased with us. And how do we do that? Serve means what? We are doing activities, right? We do cooking, right? And then we feed our children, right? In all these ways, we are showing the person, whomever we are serving, that we love that person. And we do that in such a way that the person is pleased with us. That is exactly what we are going to do with the Lord, right? We all have this Krishna consciousness dormant in our hearts. But because of our anarthas, right? We have accumulated lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, illusion, added so many layers that we don't know who is the essential object of our love. That's why we are loving dogs and pigs and whatever, cats and all that people take. And they love that cat and dog and all. Why? Because they don't know. If you cannot love God, you have to love dog only and serve it, right? Because the essential dharma of the soul is to serve. So either we can serve the Supreme Personality of God and go to his dham, or repose our love and service, right? In the Western world, Prabhupada mentions in one of the lectures, people run behind the dog, right? Taking the dog for a morning walk. The dog passes stool here and there and everywhere. And then he has to pick it up and put it in his pocket and run behind the dog. So who is the master? Who's the servant, right? The dog is the master. The dog is running wherever it wants. The master is running behind him and picking up the stool of the dog, right? So if you don't serve Lord, if you don't serve God, you will serve a dog. And your destination of serving God is to go back home, back to Godhead. If you get too much attached to a dog, you degrade yourself to become a dog in your next life. So we want to be very careful whom we want to love, whom we want to serve, whom we want to please, like that. All right. Asharya Mataji, go ahead. Subordinate consciousness. I am part of the supreme consciousness. Please read Mataji, Arya Mataji, Asharya Mataji. Yes.
For example, in the office, everyone is working under the direction of the manager. Therefore, they have no responsibilities. They have only to discharge their duties, either pious or impious duties, never mind. In the military line, to the order of the captain or the commander is there. The soldier has to execute it. He does not consider whether it is pious or impious. That does not matter. He simply has to act, and then he is a real soldier. He acts in that way that he gets his reward. He gets little title and honor. He does not care. The commander says, just go and kill the enemy, and he is rewarded. Do you think that by killing one gets reward? No, it is for the duty discharged. Similarly, here the situation is that Krishna is instructing Arjuna. Krishna is the supreme consciousness. I am consciousness, the part and the parcel of the supreme consciousness. So my duty is to act according to that supreme consciousness. For example, I consider my hand as a part of my body. Now it is moving in its own way. As I want, let my hand be moved, let my legs be moved, let my eyes be open and see. So I am dictating and these parts are working. Similarly, we are all parts and the parcels of the Supreme. When we train ourselves to move and act in accordance with the Supreme consciousness, then we become transcendental to all these pious or impious activities. That is the technique. What will the result of this technique be? We become free from the bondage of the birth and the death. No more birth and death. Modern scientists and philosophers
Thank you,
do not
Mataji.
think.
Hari Bol. Thank you.
Krishna
Thank you.
Mataji. Thank you,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna, Nadat Pranams. So very beautiful here. Prabhupada is giving the analogy of a hand, right? We spoke about this, right? Prabhupada is repeating. Why? Because we always remember, Prabhupada is repeating it. If something is repeated, it is very, very important for us to again contemplate on it and think, right? The hand is useless unless it is connected to the body, unless it is serving the body. If the hand is cut out and is lying down, right? Will the hand be of any use? No. Right? Similarly, we are parts and parcels of Krishna. It is our duty to remember Krishna. It is our duty to serve Krishna. If we don't serve Krishna, rather we serve our own senses, then we are like that hand of the body, which is cut from the body and is lying down. We become extremely useless, right? So, and then Prabhupada is also mentioning here, how do we train ourselves to move and act in that supreme consciousness, right? How do we train ourselves? We can train ourselves by hearing from those devotees who are already trained, who are already experts in this matter, right? That is what they called Acharya. Acharya means one who teaches by his own achar. Achar and prachar. Prachar means talking in the mouth, right? One of the devotees was saying, right? We should act in such a way that we need to hardly speak, right? The people by looking at us only, they know, right? This is a Krishna conscious, this is a Krishna, Hare Krishna devotee, right? Very, very, by his achar only, he's teaching us how we should behave, right? Very polite, very humble, not being selfish, being caring for each other, right? Titikshva, Karunika, humility, tolerance, offering all respect to others, not expecting any in return. All of these qualities will automatically manifest in a devotee. And these qualities by which people will get attracted to this movement of Krishna consciousness, right? They will think, oh, his life is so peaceful. Oh, he is so happy, right? We are all having suffering, so much of suffering. And it's only because we have this knowledge of Krishna consciousness, we're able to keep ourselves sane. Otherwise, we'd all become mad, isn't it? That is how the life is. Okay, so so what will be the result of this technique? What is the technique? What is this technique? Technique is always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. And how do we do that? By chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, by dovetailing our senses in the service of the Lord. And then what is the result of this technique, right? We always want, what is in it for me, right? What is in it for me? No more birth and death, right? Yadgatvan nivartante taddam paramam mama. Right? One who attains my eternal abode will not come back to this material world to suffer in this janma, mrityu, jara, and yadi. All right. Let's request Karpavali Mataji, go ahead. Modern scientists.
Mataji, am I audible, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
Thank you, Mataji. Prabhupada ki jai. Modern scientists and philosophers do not think about these four things: birth, death, disease, and old age. They set them aside. Oh, let us be happy. Let us enjoy this life. But human life is meant for finding a solution to this bondage of birth, death, disease, and old age. If any civilization has not found a solution to these four problems, then that is not the human civilization. Human civilization is meant for finding a complete solution to these things. So here is in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Karma Janma Buddhi Yuddha. Karma Janma means whenever there is action, there will be some reaction. If one acts in the badness, then there will be a bad reaction. And but reaction, either good or bad, is in the higher sense, all suffering purpose. Suppose that by good action, I get a good birth, find the bodily features and a good education. All these good things I may have, but that does not mean that I am free from material pains. The material pains, birth, death, old age, and disease. Even if I'm a rich man, a beautiful man, an educated man, born in an aristocratic family, etc., I still cannot avoid death, old age, and disease.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Hare
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam. Yeah. So, Dukkha Doshanu Darshanam, right? The Dukkha is, yeah. So, yeah, Sindhu Mataji, you can read next. I'll just give me 2 minutes. Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukkha Doshanu Darshanam. Right? Even if we are very rich, Prabhupada is saying here, even if I possess all the opulences, right? We are all possessing the opulences of the Lord in limited quantities. Right? Some of us are very beautiful, some of us talk very nicely, some of us sing very nicely, some of us cook very nicely, some of us are very knowledgeable, right? Some of us are very rich, some of us may be wealthy, some of us may be very, very intelligent, some of us may be very creative, writers, whatever, right? We may have so many opulences that have been bestowed upon us by the Lord. So, in spite of all of this, right, all of us who possess all of these opulences definitely have done some good work in our previous life. That is why we've got all these opulences. But still we are suffering, isn't it? Because we are put into this material body, right? This made of earth, water, fire, air, ether, and containing this mind, intelligence, and false ego. We are still suffering in this material world, irrespective of how much money we have, how much healthy we are, irrespective of how much knowledge we have, irrespective of how much fame we possess, irrespective of how much intelligence we have, irrespective of how much beautiful we may be, right? Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi. It puts us into pain. It puts us into suffering time and again, but we don't realize it. Why? That is illusion. That is curtain put by Maya. In spite of frustration in life, we just want to continue to live eternally, thinking that this body is all in all, right? So this body is not all in all. The soul exists. This world is not all in all. This material world is not all in all. The spiritual world exists, like that. Okay. So so how much ever aristocratic family I may be born in, I cannot avoid death. Birth, death, disease, and old age, right? At least birth also we celebrate. Happy birthday to you, like that, right? But at least for a fact, in this material body only we realize death, old age, and disease, right? When somebody leaves, so much of pain, right? We not able to see that person suffering so much. And old age, we all know, none of us want to grow old, right? We all want to remain eternal 16, right? But we all grow old. We say, oh, I've got white hair now, like that, isn't it? We don't want to grow old, but we grow old. And disease, right? Every other day, something or the other happens. Either it is a backache or a headache or a common cold. Cold to har din rehta hi hai, right? We cannot say we are perfectly healthy. Suddenly you sneeze, and then your throat starts paining, your nose starts running, right? All of this pain and disease is always there. So I still cannot avoid death, disease, and old age. At least we have practical experience. Birth also we forgotten, right? How much we came crying. If we don't cry immediately after birth, doctor will pinch us. And easily pinch us and make us cry. If the baby does not cry after coming to the material world, then the doctor says something is wrong with the child. Then you put the child in ICU, do this test, that test, like that. So when they're coming only, they are crying and coming. Oh my God, I've left the spiritual abode, I've come to this material world. But as we grow up, we are this kuchiku by our parents and relatives, etc. And we think this is our world. Oh, all these people are so loving. All these people are so caring, right? But as long as we don't have Krishna in the center, all of these attachments are going to give us ultimately pain. But if Krishna is in the center, then all of this will, and all these relationships will be enriched. Like Krishna is the one. And then all of our relatives, wealth, name, fame, money, everything are zeros. Right? All the zeros independently have no value. But when Krishna, the one, is there, then 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 10 lakhs, 1 crore, whatever may be, right? Everything becomes more of value if we have that one in place. And that one is the eternal factor in our life, who is the Suhridam Sarvabhutanam. He is our eternal well-wisher. He is our eternal benefactor. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. Okay, anyone wants to read? Sindhu Mataji, I believe. Where are you? Are you there? Sindhu Mataji. Sindhu Mataji, read last paragraph. So we must not be concerned from there.
Yes, Mataji. I was trying to unmute, but it's not happening. So
No,
I'll just
I request devotees to raise the hand so that I can unmute them. Otherwise, there's some disturbance when people are going out traveling and all. Yeah. Go
Okay,
ahead.
okay, sure, Mataji. Mataji, today morning only we were discussing this verse in the Bhagavad Gita class, 2.51, very beautifully you told. Karma jam buddhi yukta hi phalam taktva
Yes.
manishinaha, right? Padam padam vipadam, that one, that verse we were discussing. Very nice, Mataji. Hari bol, Mataji. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we must not be concerned with pious activities or impious activities. We must be concerned with transcendental activities only. That will save us from this bondage of birth, death, old age, and disease. That should be our aim in life. We should not be hankering after good or bad things. For example, suppose one is suffering from some disease, he is lying in bed, eating, passing nature's call uncomfortably, and taking bitter medicines. He always has to be kept clean by the nurses. Otherwise, there is an obnoxious smell. While he is lying in this condition, some friends come to him and ask how he is feeling. Yes, I am feeling well. What is this well? Lying in bed uncomfortably, taking bitter medicine, and unable to move? Yet, despite all these inconveniences, he says, I am well. Similarly, in our material conception of life, if we think I am happy, that is foolishness. There is no happiness in material life. It is impossible to have happiness here. In this condition, we do not know the meaning of happiness. That's why this very word is used, manishinaha, thoughtful. Shall I continue, Mataji?
Go ahead. So this is something what we discussed already, right? See, generally, whenever somebody asks, how are you? Right? It is our natural tendency to say, I am fine, thank you. How are you? Right? But we don't even think for a moment, are we really fine? Is this place we want to be eternally? Right? It just comes on top of our mind, I am fine, how are you? Very superficial, right? Very superficial. But because we don't introspect on our real purpose, right? Similarly, when we say, that's what Prabhupada mentions, that is why we are subject to illusion, right? We think we are this body, whatever pertains to this body is mine, right? All of these relatives are mine, right? And then when we lose any of our objects that we hold possession to, right? At least I remember I used to like one eraser when I was in the second or the third class. I maintained it. I had it till about the 7th or 8th standard. Now I don't even remember that eraser. I don't remember. I only remember it is a pink color eraser. I don't remember anything much about it. Right? So our attachments keep changing. Right? We are attached to certain things, but after some time our attachment changes. Right? When it keeps changing, right? Our only desire should be we want to become attached to Krishna. We don't want to be attached to anything else. We want to be attached to devotees of Krishna. Why? Because such devotees of Krishna enable us to remember Krishna. Because such devotees of Krishna enable us to render devotional service to Krishna. And that is why we want to be connected to all of these things which enable us to remember Krishna. Otherwise, we don't want to be connected to anything, because everything ultimately it is going to give us pain and suffering. Just like a hand that is cut out from the body, like that. Okay, let's continue. Mataji, go ahead. Manishinaha. There is no happiness in material life because it is impossible to have happiness here. We discussed this in great detail. We discussed that the absence of suffering is what we call as happiness in this material world. There is no happiness. Happiness exists only in the spiritual world. And a thoughtful person, manishinaha, right? If you're not superficial, but if you delve deep inside into our heart to identify, am I really happy in this material world? What is it that gives me a sense of happiness? Even if I feel happy, is it going to be eternal, or is it just a passing phase? Right? All of this introspection makes us thoughtful, and that is what is called manishinaha, like that. Okay, Mataji, go ahead. We seek happiness.
We seek happiness by some extraneous artificial means, but how long does it last? It will not endure.
Mataji, thank you, Mataji. We'll request Sridhar Prabhu. I just saw his hand. Yeah, Sridhar Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
We seek happiness by some extraneous artificial mean, but how long does it last? It will no endure. We again come back to sorrow. Suppose by intoxication we feel happy. That is not our actual happiness. Suppose I am made unconscious by chloroform and I don't feel the pain of an operation. That does not mean that I am not having an operation. This is artificial. Real pressure, real life exists. As a command in Bhagavad Gita by Sri Krishna, The thoughtful give up the reaction of work. Being situated on the level of pure consciousness, the result is that this bondage of birth and death, disease and old age comes to an end. This end of is in union with the true identity. Krishna is a reservoir of pressure by an external bliss. There indeed eternal bliss. There indeed is the true happiness for which we indeed. Hare Krishna, Dandot Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Dandot Pranams, Prabhu. So, Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure. Right? As long as we are connected to Krishna in the form of devotional service, in the form of hearing about Krishna, in the form of Archa Vigraha Seva, in the form of honoring Krishna Prasadam, in the form of hearing Bhagavad Gita, in the form of hearing Bhagavatam, in the form of hearing Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the form of hearing and reading Srila Prabhupada's books, all of this, we are connected to Krishna through Prabhupada, through the devotees, through our Shiksha Gurus, because all of them help us remember Krishna, through our relatives at home, right? Everybody, right, help us to connect to Krishna. That is why, Prabhupada says preaching is for our own benefit, right? Because if the place where we stay, if our neighbors, if our relatives, if our family members are Krishna conscious, it will enable us to become more Krishna conscious. Right? So because they will talk about Krishna, we have opportunity to hear about Krishna and we can share our realizations. We can read Prabhupada's books. We can read purports of Srila Prabhupada together as a family. The family that dances together, advances together. The family that eats together, stays together. The family that chants together, something like that. The family that prays together, advances together, something like that. Right? So in the association of devotees, what is it that we are gaining? The association of devotees, we are gaining the strength to practice devotional service with enthusiasm, with dedication, with perseverance, with determination. In this way, we will advance in our Krishna consciousness and then we will go back home, back to Godhead. With this, we will end our today's discussion. Tomorrow, we will start a new book. It's a surprise. I have to check the email. So tomorrow, we'll start a new book. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. So now let's have darshan of all the wonderful devotees who have stayed with us through the entire study of this book, Krishna, the Reservoir of Pleasure. So whom all do we have? We have Jyotsna Mataji, Shobha Mataji, Asmita Mataji, Karpikavali Mataji, Sridhar Prabhu, Anjana Mataji, Neeta Mataji. I request if devotees can switch on your cameras, it would be nice. Okay, Sindhu Mataji, just send me a message on this number and then I'll add you. 9819162228. This is my number. My name is Medhavani Sakhi Devidasi. So you can write to me in this number and then I'll add you. You can copy this number. Okay. So Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Ananta Koti Gaura Bhaktavind ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. So we'll meet tomorrow again with a new book. But the message of Srila Prabhupada is the same. Right? Let us develop our love for Krishna. Let us develop our service attitude towards Krishna. Let us go back home, back to Godhead. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.